All right, welcome everybody. See if I can be heard. All right, welcome everybody. See if I can be heard. I can. Let's kill that. I'm going to switch the. There you go. So we're going to be mostly working on maps today. So this is the PDF I'm working from, and it has these maps. So I personally prefer better maps than this. You could, in theory, do like a screen capture, a snippet, and use that. Just size the grid to it. Although it would give away a lot, you'd have to cover up the numbers. Maybe put it into like the photo editor. I use Pixlr, but if you have Photoshop or whatever, tweak it. But if you're going to be doing that much work, you may as well just build it in Fantasy Grounds. Drake, 3-month streak. Awesome. Appreciate you stopping by, saying hello. So I'm making these maps. There we go. Now the problem is a couple different things. There we go. And this will work just fine, especially in Fantasy Grounds. But I am rather particular, we'll just put it that way. And try as I might, I tried 2 different ways. I even flipped it. If we go to this painting layer, when I built the map, it has the fill and the floor, and I could not get this to behave. So it's got this big gray line around the edges of it. The other thing is, as I was rereading it, I misremembered that these little gray brown, I knew they were cobalt tunnels, but they're actually supposed to be even smaller. So small enough to where even a kobold, which is a small creature, has to squeeze through it. So I'm just going to redo the whole thing because that's the way I am. Even though I've added a couple tokens in there, there's a ballista and some other things, I'm going to redo the whole thing. So to do that, I'll go ahead and make it a little bit bigger, since it doesn't matter that, because I'm going to be working on the maps. To do that, you type slash the word scale UI space 150. Now you notice I can't see the bottom of my chat, so you just right click on it, come down here to window, unlock, right click again, window, reset. Boink, and it puts it to where I can now see it. UI scale can be from 50 up to 200. I am a real professional at finding maps that someone else did. Yes, this one is a very small PDF. I'm sort of being silly in the first place. I really don't have the time to put this 26-page PDF and convert it into Fantasy Grounds. But it's a shorter adventure for the group at the level they're at. So I'm doing it anyway. All right, so now that my map is too big, it's going off my screen. Anywhere within the image, hold down the control button, left click and drag, and it resizes your image again. I'm going to minimize some of this stuff that I've got open. We don't need it right now. Try not to get too many distractions. This is the text that I put in there. But, and Drake, I did actually look just to check, because this is called A Dungeon and a Dragon. That's why it says ADID. And I did look, and they didn't have pre-made maps anywhere. So, but now that I've already got, I have the dimensions. It's just a matter of redrawing what's there. We're going to take these walls out, the duplicate walls. I won't need that anymore. And I've locked this painting layer here so I can't accidentally mess with it and change it. So what we do first is we click down here, add painting layer. And now what we need to do is need to find our floor and our wall. I'm going to be more careful with those selections, because last time it didn't quite work. And this floor is okay, but I don't really care for the big line. It doesn't marry very well when it's bigger. So I'm either going to change the size of that square, of the large squares, or just pick a different one. So we have our new painting layer. We're going to name it by double clicking this slowly, like you would to change the name of any file. And this is floor. You come here to paint, and now you have these two things. One says fill, so that's the bottom. And then you flip it to stroke, which is the outside. So that is the thing that's giving me the hassle. The stroke. So closing down all these things, at least minimizing them. So when you minimize something in Fancy Grounds, move this up. There you go. It makes a small little thing when you hover over it. A nice thing is when you click it again, it goes right back where it was. Same thing when you minimize it again. Pops it back down. All right, let's see what he's talking. Drake says he found some. What? Oh, looks like he might have. Let's take a look. I am not a community. All right, let's see. Is that accurate? Okay, so that's a good map for this one. The third floor. Good, good. Cool, cool, cool. Save me time for that one. And just read more. I'm not sure what this is. There we go. This is the map I'm working on right now. Wow. Well, there you go. See, I do prefer to use stuff that's there. I'll have to do stuff to it, but that's okay. We can do that. And then all right, so let's take a look here and see. the major dungeon draft using Forgotten Adventure assets. All right, so he is not selling these. I just want to make sure I wasn't stealing it. Take a look at the two. I don't see a difference between the two. All right, so this is actually the third floor. So you right click, save it. You want to make sure you put it in the right spot. Save image as. Fantasy Grounds. So I have two choices here. I can put it in the actual campaign I'm using. Make sure you click zoom in before you save it. Okay. Or I can put it in the campaign I'm using, or I can put it into general battle maps. So he says to zoom in before I check it. Oh yeah, this looks beautiful. Okay. They're probably two different sizes, and so this is the correct one for what I want. I don't think I'll use this again though. This has some very specific things in it. So I'm just going to go ahead and save it in the campaign that I'm using. So the campaign is Late Night. If you zoom in before saving it, the image is better. Oh, okay. I haven't. All right, I'll do that. I don't know that. Didn't know it mattered. There you go. See, now I know. I don't like it as a web page though. Let's see. Does it do that either way? Yeah, it's saving it as a web page. Boo. Okay. It's all right. I'll fix it. I can work with that. All right, so this is going to be third floor Goblinoid Barracks. This is for a dungeon and a dragon. This will go under campaigns, late night, images. Yeah, no items match your search because I don't typically save WPs, but that's all right. I'll fix it here in just a minute. And then close it. All right, so this is where they first meet him, I believe. So I'm going to go ahead and save this one. This would be considered, this one doesn't even have a map in the PDF at all. He just made this, which is cool. And this would be Cliffs of Insanity. This has a grid. I don't want it to have a grid. That must be what the other thing is. One with a grid, one without a grid. WebP is better. It's less memory. Okay. Yes. No grid. Perfect. All right, so now it defaults to the same folder, which is perfect. So I'm doing LAD. 1 second.
Card for
All right. Fantasy Grounds did not used to allow WebP, but they do now, and you'll see that many of the new images will be WebP. Okay, cool. That's why I never use them because it didn't allow it. Yeah, that's why I never use them because it didn't support it. So I was gonna check. That answers the question. This is the Cliffs of Insanity. That's right. It is a Princess Bride reference. All right, now we're going to go to this one, which is the one we're working on right now. This is the Kobold. Um, Into the Caves is what this is called. Yeah, no traps. No grid, I mean. Save image as. Into the Caves. So cool, this is going to save me quite a bit of time and effort. Really appreciate that, Drake. Thank you so much. I am somewhat computer savvy. I know I can handle OBS, I can do Fantasy Grounds. But for whatever reason, there are some times in Google trying to search things. My wife does the same thing. She's able to find stuff just like that. And I either just can't find it at all or don't know where to look or map a line. I do. I still have it on this computer actually. Yeah, we had to map up line the grid to it. That was very exciting. It's mostly when, and it's also two happened because of two reasons. One, maps were made before Fantasy Grounds or virtual tabletops, and two, it's because they weren't a lot of times they weren't exactly square. People would make a photocopy or would just hand draw it or use some kind of weird graph paper, or they would try to shrink the image and tweak the image a little bit so that would cause the pixels to be off. So you didn't have exactly square grids. So when you put it into your virtual tabletop, you didn't have the exact square grids. Um, so it was fun, exciting times. Glad I haven't had to deal with that very much at all lately. All right, this one I don't really even know. I think this is one he made himself again. Let's see. Oh, here it is, the Ruined Temple. Ruined Temple. Oh, is this? This is the goblin. Uh, Goblins on the stairs. Okay, I didn't realize that was outside. I misread it. I've only I'm running 7 different campaigns throughout a month. In a period of a month, I will have run 7 different campaigns. Uh, I'm running games typically 2 to 4 games a week. So this particular PDF, I have skimmed through most of it, and then went back through and reread what my players are doing right now. But I didn't remember this being outside, so this is slightly different. But that's awesome. Let me see where this guy is. He is Frankie the River. Cool. So that's where he is. Reddit. If you guys are interested in looking at his stuff, he does a good job. I'm impressed. All right. So now that I have them saved, what you do is you go here into your assets under library. Come here. You go to refresh folder assets. And I'm going to go ahead and just close this thing. And now I just type my AD, AAD, boom. Here, there are my 4 maps. Now they are not ready to go just yet. There's a couple different things you have to do in order to use them at all. And then there are some things that I choose to do to improve them. So first of all, I'm going to open up my story that I built. Which is right here, into the caves. And I had my image just closed. So we're going to go ahead and hit Control 1, which gets rid of the link. And before you can actually use them and show them to your players, you have to make them. You go here to your assets, and this is this one. No, this one. Click on it, and it says right there, create map record. Boom. So now all you would have to do is you can just verify, you can zoom in enough to make sure that the grid aligns close by clicking up here, the little grid, and then click visibility. And this is actually perfect. This lines up exactly the way you wanted it to. So you are now ready to go. You don't have to do anything else. I personally prefer line of sight. And I'll also check and make sure that there's not any kind of lighting. Maybe there's a lamp or some torches that are supposed to be in one of the rooms, stuff like that. So I'll go in and add those. But it's not a requirement to actually play. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to the grid. See, it says I tried to run some Adventure League stuff out of a PDF. Nope, too much time to convert. Looks like there's maybe a fire on this map. Yeah, these I think are yes, hay. But I don't. There's a little fire pit here. I'll probably throw some light on and stuff like that. But first, we'll do the grid. So first thing I'd like to do is I'm going to go to the grid, and I don't care for this. This is way too harsh. Covers up the map. It distracts from the map. There are many times I'll just go without the grid completely. The grid still exists. You just can't see it. So as you put tokens on there and they move, it'll show how much their movements are and stuff like that. There are a lot of times, especially if I have a nice map, I will try to run it without the grid. I have a couple players who really like the grid and want to have it there forever. But regardless, when I'm using the grid like this, I'm going to go to here to tint. And the A is for the opacity. So if we turn it all the way off and then turn it up, I need to be able to see it. So we're going to go like this. You can also change the color of the grid. So if you want it to be, match like the brown here, You can have it be, blue, pink, yellow, however you want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and use the pointer and have it be that color. All right, okay. I used to keep the grid so one of his players would be quiet. That's right. So Rob would shut up. All right, so I have trained my players so that they know the line of sight is not the actual map. And what I mean by that is if you look at this, this is a really cool map. Um, and I like the rough edges here. And there are some people who will draw the line of sight right along the edge so you can't even see anything. I go probably too far, but I go to the other extreme. I make it to where you can still see some of the map, and my players know, okay, if there's a black rock there, you can't go the extra 2 feet into the wall. They'll know that. Um, I've been keeping line of sight way off the edge. Yeah. Yep. So that's my personal opinion because I like them to be able to see the art. I mean, this guy didn't spend a lot of time and effort on this, and I like to see it. And as a player, when you just see a black, everything just cuts off. Sometimes it'll cut off the doors. Sometimes you're just not even sure what's even there. So I'm gonna go here to line, and because this is a crookedy hallway, we're just gonna go in about half a square. I don't want to make a ton of these points, but you just drag and click where you want it to show up. You can also use the arrow keys if you are drawing a straight line, which is what I'll be doing here in just a moment for most of this. Skybox time. Yeah, I need to find a skybox for that too. X, you are correct. Gotta find a gray cavern or take one of the caverns I have and make it gray. So I'm just left clicking and then moving. Left click. The other good thing about doing it this way is I don't have to be exact. It doesn't matter that part of the wall is, quarter of an inch, another half is an eighth of an inch. Who cares? The point is they can see where the wall ends. So it takes less time to actually make the line of sight. I could be more zoomed out as well, where I see more of the map, but I really don't care at this point. It's not vital. I'm happy doing it this way. See, I could be more zoomed out if I wanted to, but I prefer the closer up. So here we're going to slow down a little bit. And I'm going to go all the way in here, right up to the door. Hit escape to stop drawing. And then we'll pick that right back up. Not sure why he chose to make a weird little divot there, but that's okay. No big deal. All right, now we have going back to some more cobalt trails. You'll notice I'm just this is all part of the same line except for that one time I hit escape to stop drawing for the doorway. Um, Typically, you can just follow one edge. So go all the way around. And it'll do most of the dungeon, especially a dungeon like this. And I personally find it easier to do that. You can do one room at a time, whatever you need to do, depending on your time and what you need to do for the next session you have. Some people also turn on the map arrows to move about. I rarely turn those on. Not for this. For when I'm playing or when I'm DMing, yes, I'll turn on the map arrows. But when I'm actually working on the maps, I don't use the map arrows. I'm not even sure how you would do that because it takes the cursor. And again, a nice thing of doing it this way, I don't even have to go down if I don't want to. Again, I'm just being a little more particular, we'll put it that way. And again, he's got it to where it's jutting out just a bit. Just hitting left click as you move along. Click, click, clickety click. And using those control keys will keep your lines perfectly straight. Or you can just move your mouse if you want it to be a little crooked. The nice thing about doing these are supposed to be cavern walls, so we don't need them to be straight. But if they were like inside of an actual building, those control keys are great because it makes your rooms exact. All right, so we're at another Kobold Warren tunnel. I am going to go ahead and shrink this because it's closer to the room. The key for the line of sight is that you can't see, so I'm cutting it a little closer along here out of the room. Once they're in the tunnel and exploring around, that's one thing. All right, so now you'll notice this is outside. So I want them to be able to see the rocks, and again, they know they have to, when they get to the bottom of the rock, they have to stop or climb it. But I want them to be able to see that, so I'm going to just go ahead and put it here. Here, bring it down to the doorway. We'll come back up. Actually escape. Boom. And then we'll just go straight across. Or as straight as he made the map. Because he brought it down a little bit here. So we'll click. And you can also go down, bring it over, and then down. Click. Straight across. And back up. Let's bring it up to there. Do the rest by hand. Escape. So we've got the whole outer right side is all done. Boom. Just like that. Now we'll do the left side. Do the same thing. Still in line. Do you line of sight the entire edge of the map too? Not normally. In this particular case, for example, no, I wouldn't, because maps aren't, they're not going to be here. I mean, it's a 3-second thing to do. You just click rectangle and draw your square. Bloop. But the tokens aren't going to ever be out here. So there's no need to do the outside edge of the map in this particular case. Depends on the map. If I'm doing like a forest map or something like that, then yes, I will typically do the outside. Good question. Like I said, it's very easy to do, and there's no reason not to if you don't want to, but I don't worry about it. All right. This is a straight line. All the way across. I tend to do it most of the time. Yeah, like I said, it's very easy. Um, you can it is a possibility that I might accidentally throw somebody on the other side of a wall or something. In which case, having the outer line of sight might make a difference, but typically I don't care. I guess I mostly want it that way if there are multiple maps on the same page. Levels, yes. Absolutely, you are correct. There, then it is as necessary as it gets. You know, you need to do it that way. We're going to bring this out just a smidge. Again, this is a kobold tunnel. So it wouldn't necessarily be straight anyway, but so now we're getting the same issue we did on the other side. We want to, by the way, if you're wondering how I'm dragging the map, um, you can use the WASD to move the map around, or what I'm doing is I'm holding down my mouse wheel, clicking that, and then dragging it. Bring it to the door. Escape to stop drawing. Click again. Pick it back up. All the way out to the edge. This side is nice and straight, so we don't have to worry about that one. Escape. I'm going to check real quick to see, did these marry up? They did not. So believe it or not, if depending on where the characters move around, this does make a difference. So you go back to here to select it, snap it in, and now you're good to go. Go back to line, zoom out. All right, so now we've got both sides done. And now we'll just go into the middle and make sure everything's good to go. We'll have to add our doors in. They typically advise you to do the doors first. Sometimes I notice that the glitch where a token just takes off on the map, line of sight on the edge, stop it from being a million squares away. Yeah, yep. So they do say to do the doors first. So before I do the inner walls and I marry all that up, I'm going to do the doors now. And what this does is it stops me from having to come back later and check and make sure the doors are all married up with the walls. So we'll throw in some doors. Go here to door. Door. And we'll go here. So we'll start here. This is a single door. So, whoa. Everybody calm down. Control Z. Rectangle. There we go. I've been locking all the doors because I'm trying to get the players to say I open the door instead of being a Marbania and just clicking the door open. Yeah. Yep. I agree. It's annoying. All right, so we're going to do two doors this way because this is a double door. So you just do the same thing. You want to just make sure that they overlap the tiniest bit. I'm also bringing it all the way out to where the red line is going to be. Boom. So that way there won't be a gap around the door. All right, so these are doors here, and they're open. If I wanted to, I could make another layer of the doors with the door closed, and then have them open. I'm not going to worry about that. This one, they might push these doors open more farther, so I'm going to go ahead and just draw the door like this. So if you escape, Control Z, and then we do a line. So now we're going weird. So we're gonna go draw the rectangle. You always want your doors to be either a rectangle or a square, or at least they can be octagons, hexagons. It doesn't matter, but you want them. Oops, escape. I said escape. Okay, boom. Escape. And looks like our last pair of doors are right here. Oops, escape. Control Z, rectangle again. All right, so you want to overlap the red just a tiny bit. Otherwise, it will leave little gaps and it gets annoying. Boom. You no longer have to do a rectangle for the doors. A single line works good now. Okay. I have never tried that. But I trust him. So you heard it here second. And go in a little bit again because the red line will be there. I tend to keep it on the outside of the map so it shows up better. Grab a token, turn on line of sight, and player view. Yeah. So what he's talking about is, say there was we'll just add a door. One of my rooms almost done. This one's almost done. So I'll do the line of sight real quick. And then we'll show you what we're talking about. All right, so what he's saying is if you wanted to have a door, you can also just do a straight line instead of a rectangle. Like that. And so it looks like a rectangle looks like this. So when you throw your person in there, close our assets, open up our combat tracker. Throw our little dude in there. Go here to play mode. Go to line of sight. And then you click on enable player vision. Click this, and now you can see this is what the room looks like and with the line of sight I did. So like I said, I just tell my players don't walk into the wall there. You can't go into the wall, that type of thing. And when they walk up to this rectangle door, it looks like that. And you can see the rectangle door. It's a rectangle here. And when they click it to open it or close it. And then if he walks over here to the line we drew, there's also, it did its own rectangle, open, close. And so from a DM point of view, line of sight, boom, it's just one line. So it does the same thing. Works exactly the same way. There's a way you can draw a line of sight wall all over, then cut out the doors with the scissor tool, but I have not figured it out. I just draw all the walls and go back and add the doors, windows, etc. Yeah, the Watma, the guy who draws all the maps and stuff, uh, I'm just used to doing it his way, where you do the doors and everything first, and then you draw the walls. But it doesn't really matter where you do it. I don't ever use one out of the combat tracker, since they're usually in combat and might erase fog of war. I grab a token from assets. They all work fine. Yep. This is my camera view, so I don't. This is exactly what this is for. That's why I have this token at all. Is for the camera view. It's also a player. So if I never need to do something with that token as a player, roll dice or something, I can use it too. So, yep. So that's what that does. That's what he was saying. You can just do a simple line. You can see from the player's view, it looks exactly the same. Actually, they make their own rectangle. This one is exactly how I drew it. So if you wanted a certain size, shape of a door, you could draw the hard way. Otherwise, you can just do a single line. All right, so that's what he was talking about. Let's go back to right click on here, delete the token. I'm actually just going to leave it here because I'm going to check it later. After I do line of sight, I prefer to double check, run around and check, make sure I didn't miss anything, any little tiny gaps anywhere. It's gotten to where, disable line of sight. I am somewhat of a practiced hand at it, so it's now gotten to where I rarely have issues like that because I catch them beforehand, but it doesn't hurt to check. Finishing up this interior block here. Control Alt Shift combos of those do all kinds of stuff in drawing mode. Eventually, they need to do a good wiki for drawing tools, but since it's been changing so much, they would have to redo stuff. Yeah. You are. Oops, I'm still indoors. It helps if you do the right thing. So click here, click wall. Yeah, you can change the color selection, stuff like that, on the fly using some of those hotkeys. You are correct. I personally don't know much. I don't know much about that, but I know it exists. I just don't know what they are. And again, I'm not too stressed about this in this particular case. The whole point of the line of sight at all is to stop you from being able to see across the entire map. And so there might be particular places where these kobold tunnels allow them to see far. And so I will tweak that if that happens. But for the most part, it's just to show that there's just these little tunnels here. So I'm not too worried about the being exact with the line of sight. All right, so now next we have this section here, this block here. I had a map that says the character can see through the walls. There are crystals or something. I tried to do windows all over it, but it turned into a big yellow blob when I hovered over the map with line of sight turned on. Deleted, made walls. Yeah, I've done that. It is tricky. You got to do little rectangles for the windows so that they can open and close it to pass through it, that type of thing. But in the Starship maps I've made, yeah, I've done that because you can see into like the one. Actually, you're gonna be on that map soon. Uh, when you go on into the Starship, you're in a hallway, and there's transparent aluminum window. You can see the engine room, but you can't get through the wall. So I did them as windows there. But it's tricky. Same thing with pits. Pits are cool, where you can only see into them, you can't see out of them. We also have the object, where as you can see through it to the edge of it. But if you get on top, then you can see all the way around it. Lots of cool little tricks you can do for your maps. Make them a little bit more believable. Okay, this time I want to go all the way up to the door. So we've got to make sure. Boom. You can change that in a pit now. I think you can set it see in or see out idea. It's a little button. Nice. Yeah, the pit's here. The illusionary wall. I haven't really used illusionary walls very much, but it's basically a wall, and then when you go through it, you can see on the other. You can still pass through it. You can't see through it, but the token can pass through it. Don't use that very often when you got your windows and your door. Toggleable walls for like a secret door, and then your terrain. Like I said, as long as you're on top of the terrain, you can see all the way around it, and you can see through it to see what it is, like a tree or bush or a dumpster. And then, but you can't see on the other side of it, beyond the back of it. I have used all of them at different points, some more than others. That's really cool about the door. I didn't realize they changed it to where it's a single line works now. So that is nice. Which is nice. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and click this right here, and then we'll go up to the door. Click here. So one thing you want to check for on your doors, you want to make sure there is a red line here. Because if you draw your door later, it will cut out. So if I drew a door here now, it would cut out the red line. And so then as players passed, they will be able to see all the way past out here. So when you do it, you just want to make sure your red lines like that is working. The shadow too is neat if you want to create directional lights. You can't move them yet like a flashlight, but you can make a beacon. Yes. Yeah, he's talking about the pits. So he was talking about the pits, so you can make it toggleable, or make it where it's blocks movement. So, yeah, very cool. Yeah, the shadow casters, you can draw have something where you can just see through it and around it, but it will cast a shadow. It's like a chair, for example. Wouldn't necessarily block your line of sight in real life, but it would cast a shadow. So something like this. I don't know what this is yet. So it's either a terrain. So if it's just a little mesa, like a shelf within the door of the room, then it would be in a terrain. If it goes, it's a column that goes up to the roof, like a large pillar, then it's a wall. So how many hours do you want to invest in a room that the characters are going to loot and leave? Yeah. I have that as a lesson I have very slowly been still trying to learn is like pictures and stuff. I want the exact picture, so I'll spend 45 minutes looking online trying to find the exact one, putting it into Photoshop or my Pixlr is the software I use, and share it with the players. They look at it for 2 minutes and then move on. So I've tried to learn to be a little bit more careful with my time. All right, we got another door. Like I said, what I'm doing is I'm making sure that they can't see very far initially right here into the tunnel. But then once they get in, I don't care. I'm not as particular. I purchased a $20 adventure. The characters get a description of the big bad dimension door to his room, took the prince, and left. Threw the adventure in the trash. Less than 20 minutes. Done. Wow. That's annoying. I mean, I guess if they had fun, it might be fun, but I mean, sort of takes the whole fun out of it. I guess what I would try to do is just reskin it and use the rest of the adventure as something else. Make it to where they couldn't do a dimension door and just have it be a different change that one room and then try to tweak the rest of it. Gotta get your money's worth. Frustrating. Yeah, that stuff like that is a little challenging because you don't want to take away from the players having a good idea. But on the other hand, that was time and money that you spent. Escape to stop drawing. Click left click again. Again, I'm just left clicking, making each one of these white things is called an occluder. So I'm just left clicking to make sure. Click and then moving on. All right. So we've got this whole side done. We only have a couple more, 3 more sections to do, and we are finished with the line of sight for this map. And again, officially, I'm done. I don't have to do anything beyond line of sight. I can wing it. So again, I'm just making sure they can't see very far into the tunnel till they get in. You're totally fine if you just, once you have your line of sight on your maps, and you'll find that most Fantasy Grounds maps, especially if you buy them from the Forge, they will have all of this done. You don't have to do this. Uh, I did this because this is an image I found off the interwebs. Or I should say, that Drake found for me. I believe there are assets you can draw with, like walls. They include line of sight, but I've never tried to mess with them. There are, yep, and it depends on the asset. I have used them. I typically don't like them because they were, the ones I have at least, are caverns, and they follow every curve and twist, every rocky outcropping on the tile. Which means for a lot of occluders, and it's not necessary. But is it cavern or is it cave? It is, I think it's cave. Yeah, it's cave. These guys have line of sight. And these guys have line of sight up here. But like I said, so if I threw this in here, it follows all the curve, makes like 100 line of sights. And so two problems with their line of sight, the way they do that with this particular map pack is one, it's right up on the edge, so you don't see any of the actual wall. DJ's barking, but he can't say hi to Parker anymore. Nope, it's a sad day. I miss the old guy. So the number of occluders and then the fact that it went right up to the edge instead of coming back a little bit makes it to where I rarely use these, or I'll just put them on, delete all of the line of sight, and then just reapply it. It's faster that way. Okay, one more. Clickety clicking. Left click, bring it all the way out to the door to make sure you don't have any gaps. Hit escape to stop drawing. You want to make sure you click on the line. And I'm going to bring it out just a little bit. Zoom in, make sure I touch them. I did not touch them. Select. Boom. All right, so we have our line of sight. And like I said, what I like to do, if I can, let me make this a little bit bigger. Is I'll go to my play mode. Go to my line of sight. And just drag him around. We'll start here. Zoom out. One door, two doors. Oh, see, that's what we're looking for right there. That little gap. And that is exactly what I mentioned earlier. If you, I know the blue line is crossing the red line. That's why you always have to have a red line on the other side of the door. You can hit the clean up occluders tool to delete a bunch of them. Yes. Minimize. Once you have select the occluder, that's one of the options on here is simplify. It's what it's called. Sight. Yep. See, it goes right through. So still on wall. Click line. There you go. And we'll cruise along in here. Wee. Actually, that reminds me, this door was just an example door, so I don't even want that door. So let's go back to our, or this one. Looters, line of sight, I mean. Select, double click, delete. We will take this guy, draw him down, escape. These guys, will marry them up. And we do the same to this other door. This is a single line, so it's a little bit more of a pain in the butt, but we'll find it. Notice it's blue. Delete. Boom. All right. Cruising down, cruising down. But ta-da! In the big spoilers trapped hallway. You can see pretty far down that path, but I don't care. It's fine. Same thing into here. Brings us out to here. This one just goes all the way over to here. So far, so good. I think the single line helps with not having too many gaps. Though if it's a two-door, the single line I don't think works well. Okay. All right, so there's a little gap there. Notice if right when I stand there, right there, that means it's a tiny little gap right there. Yep. If it's me and I'm a player, I don't say anything. I don't care. I understand what goes into these maps and stuff, and having a tiny little gap like that isn't a big deal. But there are some players who are like, oh, there's a gap there. You can see a big line. Oh, what's going on? Like, dude, calm down. It's not that big a deal. See, and the doors block the line of sight there. And if they happen to push them open, it won't. But there we go, cruising up here. So like here, if this was important, I would trim this up and put this a little closer because this is really far. This is almost 5 feet into it. But again, I don't care. It's just a passageway. It's not that important, so it's not that big a deal. Depends on how perfect you want everything to look. All right, so that is our line of sight for this map. Now turn off line of sight. Perfect. So now, as a is that crossbow a trap, and should it be behind a secret door? It is not behind a secret door. It's on a little ledge, um, and it shoots at them. Little kobolds up there shooting at them is what these are. And there's a couple. There's three of them. There's another one over here. Here, I mean, and one here. One here. A total of four. Three others besides the one that was there. Little kobold powered ballista. Why are there two? That's weird. So now I need to put the pins in. What that means is we can go ahead and close this. So this is area 1. So this is going into the cave. So this is just the general information about the cave. So we drop it, drag it here. Because they're going to be coming from here, from the bottom. I'm going to throw this up here as well, just in case. Actually, no, I'm not. Leave it. All right. And then yeah, here's the Cliffs of Insanity. All right, so now I haven't finished the rest of it yet. This is 0.03. So now the next part would be going into the PDF. So that was into the caves. Number 1. And then you have number 2, the trap hallway. That was that long hallway we were looking at. Now you have to make a ton of encounters. Hee hee. That's right. Yep. So as an example, what I can do here is, let's see, if we take this, make it half, this, the other half. All right, so now I have the PDF and the thing here. You used to have to use Notepad to, and you still can if you want to clean things up. Notepad plus plus. Yep, I have it. And you can. I have a macro that would do Control A, J, C. So it would do all that at once. But being a little lazy, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. So what I'm going to do is minimize this for now. I'm actually going to move this into here because that goes there. So this is the trapped hallway. For now, we're just going to minimize it. Again, we're working with a tiny little screen here. Can I move this over at all? Yeah, okay. So we go to our story again. You see, this is the group I have. I made its own special group. All my books and stuff. A Dungeon and a Dragon. These are the ones I'm making. So I did Into the Cave. So now I'm doing the next part, which would be 2.04. And it's called the Trap Hallway. So you come down here to the bottom. Fantasy Grounds itself, Smiteworks is getting away from the storyline. I have a job, so I pay people to convert them for me. Take my $10, $11. Yep. Yep. I used to do that. Used to do it for pay. Um, I've done about 7 different projects, including 2 that were just massive. One was just insane. It was a 300-page campaign book, and then a primer, plus all the maps, all the counters, all the things. I mean, it took me months and months and months. But I've also done a really small one that was only 3 pages, and everything in between. So anyway, including I think the smallest one I ever did was my uh, one for the um, it's called Augment Crystals. And it's actually really cool. It's something that you can just insert into any um, you can insert it into any weapon or piece of armor. Okay, I should have just looked at it from there. Oh, it's right here. There. Okay. This is it. It is a bunch of crystals you can buy to put into attached to a non-magical weapon, armor, or shield. Tells you how much they cost and what they do. Everything all the way up to $10,000. Weapon augments crystals. That was by, that's the cover, and that was by Jeff and Dawn Eibach back in 2002. For DM's Guild is what I did it for. That's my smallest one I've done. Anyway, getting back to it. Um, Bane, I'll convert that for you, Drake, for $100. Dungeon of the Mad Mage, I would pay that much for. I too have a job. I'm losing money at that rate. That's right. Are they all coded? Because I have to use, I have to use 2 hands. If not, that's right. Silly DM question. Hydra. The stat block has a portion that states that the Hydra dies if you kill all of its head at one point and is burned at that round, but it does also die. Does it also die when it reaches 0 hit points? Burned, so no regeneration. Make sure I'm understanding your correction correctly. Let's take a look at Hydra. I presume we're talking about the Legacy one. So it has 172 hit points. I do remember thinking about this before, and I've used Hydra several times. They have 5 heads. Whenever the Hydra takes 25 or more damage in a single turn, one of the heads dies. If all of them die, the Hydra dies. At the end of the turn, it goes 2 heads for each of its head that died since its last turn, unless it's taking fire damage. The Hydra gains 10 for each head regrown this way. So basically, the answer to the question is, say it takes 24 points of damage 9 times, then yes, it would be it would die, but it would regrow. If it then took If it got burned, it would die. Yeah. If you did 25 points of damage 5 times, it's only 125 damage. But all of its heads are dead. Again, presuming they were all burned, it would also die. So yes, it would, the extra 50 hit points, or 27 hit points, 25, 52. The extra 52 hit points would still just be gone because you killed all the 5 heads if you did 25 damage 5 times. And they didn't regenerate for some reason. That's how I see it. That's how I would view it. You can either do 25 points of damage to each head at one time in a single turn, or a total of 172 damage. But in both cases, they have to not be able to regenerate. That's what I see. Hydra dies when all of its heads are severed, but you must use fire damage to cauterize the next dumps. If it takes 25 or more damage in a single turn, one of its head dies, Drake says, and it regains hit points and goes head unless fire damage dealt to it since last turn. Yeah, that's what's in the stat block. But fireball, fireball, fireball. That's right. So to make sure I answered your question, because I think I did. It says, Poison states the Hydra dies if you kill all the heads at one point and it's burned. But does also die when it uses 0 hit points. Yeah, so either one. So again, so if you did 125 damage, which is 25 for each head in a series of, and I mean, if you did 50 points in one turn, it's still only one head. It's not 2 heads, it's only one. So when it takes an accumulated 172 damage, but less than 25 in a turn to kill the heads, it still dies as long as it's burned. Yes. Because specifically says while it has more than one head, it has advantage. Okay, no, and then it says if all its head die, the Hydra dies. It says it right there. Yep. So like I said, if you only did 120, if you for 5 rounds you did 25 damage only, but there were burn damage, you would kill a head around. It would still have. It would only take 125 damage, so it would still have 57, 47, something like that hit points left, and then 47. It'll have 47 hit points left, but it would be dead because you killed all of its heads. Or the other way around, kill 1 or 2 heads, but eventually do 172 damage. That has been as you've been burning it the whole time. That would kill it too. Yeah, but it says right here, if all of its heads die, the Hydra dies. So that is the clarification on that. And then you can screw with them and do a Cryo Hydra, which fire does nothing. It's the ice that stops them from. Oh no, this one has fire damage. Anyway, there's a couple trolls that do that too, that change it. So they blast. Oh, it's a troll. We blast it with fire. It regenerates. I just hit it with fire. It doesn't. It regenerates because you have to use cold for this troll. Some of the hydras do that too. So that's how it played it out. Drake, the body collapsed, but they had to finish killing off the head to finish it off. But it couldn't move since its body collapsed. Oh, that's cool. Having said that, you're the DM. You can do whatever the hell you want. So, absolutely. As long as people aren't getting frustrated and it's consistent, go for it. All right. So, to convert this, a couple different ways. And I could do it. I could skip over the whole page too. Um, I'm going to throw this in there, and I'm going to take a look at it and see. So once you throw this in here, you're like, oh, wait, this is all weird. It is. So you do Control A to select it all, Control J, and then you just go to each paragraph and plop it in. Now, you can also use Notepad++, put all this into Notepad++ and do the same thing. Some people find it much easier to do it that way, whatever way works for you. But I'm only doing a couple pages, so I'm just doing it this way. So now I have all the traps. I think instead of, I could do a story entry for each one. Or I can just put them all together. That is the question. I think for now I'm just going to leave them all in the same one. Because the difference is if I chose to, where did my map go? The difference is if I put them on, this is the wrong one. Didn't save the map. If I put them on each individual stories, I could then put a pin for each one. Poink, 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 poink. Drake says, my best was the characters when hunting for an easy dragon kill while a white dragon. They got all buffed up, went in, and it was an albino red dragon. Nice. I like to get different views to see if I interpreted or handled something wrong. That's just mean. Yeah. Bane says. Drake, yeah, if the hunter player just go for level ups, I'm a jerk. Milestone, that's right, for real, especially if a DM tools is broken. I am not a big fan of milestone myself, but it's become the norm nowadays now, where that's pretty much what everybody does now. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Just means that that's what everybody's doing. And I am now in the minority. All right, into the caves. Here we go. Didn't have it pinned. What I'm saying is if I do each map separately, I can then just have each pin, pink, 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 for each trap. Tink, 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 tink. But for now, I think I'm just going to put the whole. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I didn't label it correctly. All right, so go back to my story. This should be 2.04. So now there it is. Now it's all part of the same story. All right, so I'm gonna have to build these NPC traps or just look for ones that are similar. I have a bunch of NPC traps. A bunch of traps, so I'll probably just pick some from each of these traps. I have 10 pages of traps. So I can probably find traps that will work. I've just been using published modules for the most part, so I haven't done anything with them at all. Used to be reference manuals, but they added more robustness to them. So the books are all your reference manuals, right? Yes. There has to be a way to link them to be able to drop a pin to open an area. Just haven't played with it. Yes, there is. So yes, yes, yes to all of your questions. So first of all, the for example, the asset I just showed you, um, augment creation, there is no book for it because I never built a book for it. Uh, so it still shows up in the book list, but there isn't actually a book there. If you go to something like Dragons of Icefire Peak, and you're at an encounter here, you can just drag the encounter. You can either drag the encounter to your map. I'll go ahead and make this full screen again. You can drag the encounter, click and drag it to your map as a pin, or you can take this particular Umbrage Hill, open it, drag that to your map, and it'll take you to the same things here. So the link to the header does it too. Yep. Yep. So it depends on what you want. You can pin everything, the map, encounter. So typically, in theory, they should both be linked. So yes. So the map has. Well, this is stuff I've messed with. So like yours probably won't have the sketchy wench link to you on yours. But yes, that's the point is yes, there are easy ways to link things from the story, from the books now. Um, I am just not as familiar when I did all my uh, conversions back in the day when everything was black and white. Uh, we didn't use books; we used story entries, and so that's how what I'm familiar with, and that's what I still do. Is I make story entries for all my stuff. All right, so I'll get into that later. Time is 3:30 my time, 6:30 Drake's time. I don't know where you are, Bane, but point is, it is time for me to get moving. So hopefully, line of sight helped you out. Drake, again, thank you so much for finding these maps for me. Building maps in Fantasy Grounds is pretty easy. The biggest hassle I had is counting out all the grids and stuff, which I already had. But obviously, taking something that's already done, I don't have to find all the assets for these things and do all that stuff. It makes it so much easier and so much simpler. So, Bane's also in Eastern. Okay, over there and on the right coast. I'm over here on the left coast. You have to send me all the time. You say that's right. I have to send it to you. So, thanks for hanging out, asking questions. If you uh, I appreciate it. I have tried, by the way, talking since Drake, you were talking about the books. I have tried it for one of my other. It is this one actually. I tried doing books for Neverwinter because I have a lot of. I use the world locations you can see here, and I have it was just before that came out, and so I was doing a lot of stuff for get out of this Neverwinter, and linking the pictures I found and stuff. I do sometimes find third-party maps and add them as a layer on top of the WotC map to reuse the line of sight. But they had to line up pretty good though. That's right. So I have all these different ways. Yeah, like this one here. This is the book I made. Tried to mess around with it. Tried to learn about it. The different shops that are there and the different going too water deep. You know, I have messed with it to some extent, but not enough to where I'm really comfortable with it. And I've slept and eaten since I did these things. So, uh, yeah, but I made an attempt to convert and become part of the community, but then I went back to my stories. So, my goal is to never do a full homebrew since I'm lazy. Yeah, I've done quite a bit, and I have a whole where are my images? Assets. So there's a Greyhawk book from back in the day that I have on a city. Well, it's not the city of Greyhawk, but it's a city, and there they are. That's why I couldn't see them because it wasn't on my list. Data, SEC. So these are sections of a map, and every single section has a story entry for every single location that's on that map. So, like this one, they're all numbered 311, 310, all the way through. And there's a story entry for each one of those. And I was paying somebody to help me put in all of these entries and stuff. Um, and I was also making changes to the overall map, um, which is never mind. It was trying to remember the name of my mind's blanking. Um, Nashco. Yes, there it is. So here's the map, and it has numbers along the bottom, 1 through 6, and then letters along the side, A, B, C, D. And so each one of those sections you just saw details part of the map. And then I would make changes over. This is A, F. And then when I got really fancy, so like this one was one of the buildings they purchased. This is somebody's smithy. I went ahead and redrew this using fantasy grounds. If they were just visiting or just going around, I would just use the pink one. But in the sections that they actually used and lived in, I redrew it in fantasy grounds. So anyway, yeah, I've done, but most of that stuff was either homebrew or from old stuff, or I'll do a lot of homebrew going to and from locations. So if I'll grab part of Dungeon of the Mad Mage and I'll stick it in somewhere. But to get there, I do homebrew and then back. Everything that they're doing in Phandalin is all homebrew. I took the Giant Adventure Hill Giant Steading Place and the section back together from Classic and Unity, then found the maps from an author. I had to redo it all again. The export tool and the images is very nice now, but I rarely remember how to use it to its full effect. Josh needs to learn me more. I really want to go through some of the old Horrible Evil TSR game content because, hey, I like ugly things ugly to overcome. We just finished, this group right here actually just finished the White Plume Mountain. That was quite the endeavor. So, with this group, lots of fun talking about old school Gary Gygax stuff. So, anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. Now I really have to go. I'm pushing my time limit. So, but how many in the fishbowl? It was 3 weeks. They got well. I should say they got there, so that half counted, but then 3 full weeks in the fishbowl. Yep. But it was crazy stuff, and it was a lot of fun. They really enjoyed it. So, and so did I. I'd never run it or through it or run it myself. So it was a lot of fun. Well worth it. So thanks a lot, guys. We will be back here in 3 hours ish. It's 10 o'clock your time, 7 o'clock my time for some more D's and the other D's. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and whatever else you do. Enjoy the rest of your day.